weekend. It's time to get back to business. And today, oh my God, today we have a special guest in the studio with us, Mr. Ken Chester, Tech Mobility Productions. And then I got my boy, Dan Williams, who's been traveling the world with me, learning about all these businesses all over the country, taking it back to all his NFL guys and NBA guys. So welcome, Ken. Welcome, Damon, to the show. Penn Global News. All right.
Thank you.
So, man, hey, listen, lots going on, right? Wednesday the 18th. And today we're talking about how innovation is disrupting every industry. Kind of crazy, right, Ken? Crazy.
It
so
is.
A little bit, let me get into a little bit about, Ken Chester, because Ken is we just got to talk about this today. He's a pioneer in this space, been in this space for a long time. He's a national syndicated automotive journalist, entrepreneur, passionate advocate for representation and diversity in the automotive industry. He began his mission to assist educated consumers in 1989 by founding the Auto Buyer Plus. Wow. A company focused on guiding individuals through the car buying process, which is what we all need to get through that car buying process. In 1997, he landed Motor News Media Corporation, providing syndicate automotive news and photography to newspapers nationwide. In 2018, he expanded his media reach with the creation of Roadworthy Drive Production, producing informative radio content on mobility and technology topics. That the platform evolved into Tech Mobility Production Inc. in 2023, continuing his mission to make automotive and technology news accessible and relevant to all of us worldwide. He is also a founding member of Black Automotive Media Group, which is called BAMG, working to improve equality, visibility, and inclusion for Black journalists and media outlets in automotive industries with a career span over 30 years. So I told you he's the GOAT in this business, Dane. So, with further ado, hey, listen, Ken Chester, welcome to Penn Global News.
Thank you so much for having me. Point of information, might not be the sharpest tool in the shed. I just work harder.
No, man, we know it. We understand that. But, I've had the pleasure, Ken, to meet you through Miss Carolyn Mosby,
right,
who's, ran the council at Mid-State and now the Wisconsin and Iowa Minority Business Councils. I know she oversees 5 states, but she had called me and said, hey, listen, you got to meet Ken Chester. I think Ken is a great solution to technology companies all over in every atmosphere of technology, because right now it is really taking over our society as a whole. And Dame and I and all of our team, we always talking about, the innovation of technology. And Dame also himself is kind of tapped into the technology world too, because we're working a lot with the NIL students, trying to help them understand, taxation, money management. But right now it's all through tech, all through different tools that we got to utilize. So today, let's get into our topics of discussion, which is the innovation snapshot, which is trends shaping the future today. So something we're going to discuss, Ken, is artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Oh, wow. That's wide, broad, and evolving at lightning speed.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, Dame,
what you knew last week ain't what you need to know tomorrow.
No, facts. And I learn a lot when I'm on the ground, talking to a lot of businesses and stuff, because innovation and being able to pivot today in this technology world is what we have to do. Because, I mean, Ken, let's face it, when it comes to tech mobility and all the things that you touched over the years, especially with automotive bleeding into tech products, if you're not like up on what you should do with your company to really, pivot into that technology world, I mean, chances are, as I say it today and I say it every day, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. Absolutely. So let's kind of talk about that snapshot, what it looks like, because companies don't understand. And the ones who really don't understand, we're trying to be here today to tell you why you have to pivot and understand technology.
Well, let's.
Hey, and Ken, real quick, before you even start that, can you start with the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning? Because I know a lot of people don't know the difference. And could you give us a little bit
Well,
of on it?
machine learning kind of predated AI,
Right.
and they're adjacent but not exactly.
Mhm.
Machine learning is more of systems that gained knowledge through rote. You had to train it, teach it, program it, and you program that information, and you got a result. AI takes large language models and its ability using a lot of resources takes all this information and manipulates it, sees trends, sees patterns, and then based on that information, spins out either proposals, remedies, suggestions. But the thing is, AI is going from reactionary to predictive. And that's the thing. That's machine learning where it's not just enough where it started with the model, it's taking that information and taking the next step.
Mm.
That's the thing. That's where people are having challenge. It's one thing to say, take all this data and tell me what you see. And that,
Mhm.
that's generative AI. You got a variety of different AI. You've got statistical AI, you've got generative AI, you've got, you name it, you can put a spin on it depending on industry, depending on need, depending on who's feeding it. And that's kind of the big challenge right now is who is controlling the basis, the large language models that is training the AI or the AI is having access to in order to, come up with a predictive, if you will, outcome. Part of
Mhm.
the problem is that if there are biases in the large language model that's being fed, then AI is going to inherently amplify those biases in its output. Hence,
Right.
every now and then you've heard the term AI hallucinates,
Oh yeah.
which is a nice way of saying AI just flat lies.
Right.
Quick example, machine learning, you couldn't say what I tested one of these models. I said, you know what? Tell me about my company. And I gave it the name and everything. And it gave me a nice little shallow, but nice and
Mhm.
kind of accurate. Then I went
Mhm.
back to companies. I said, tell me about my first company. I gave it the name. And it gave me this phenomenal history over 30 years, what the company was doing and the people it interacted with and the products they developed and what they're doing now. Only one little problem with that. It was 100% false, every last word of it. It spun a story that was completely wrong.
Hmm.
And that I think is the biggest challenge. Machine learning, it's very close into the vest.
Mhm.
You program it, it responds to the prompts in programming. Large language model and where AI is going is it takes that large language model, gives you the basis, but then takes the next step or two or three to the point where now AI can and is replacing certain level jobs right now. Sure, you heard of Duolingo, and there was
Mhm.
another company, Shopify,
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
said, "Hey, we're not going to hire anybody anymore unless you can prove that AI can't do it."
Mm.
Duolingo said, "We're going to let go contract workers in place of AI. We're actually going to put people out of work." And they both got pushback from that. I think they were a little early. And then, there are other issues that, we can talk about a little later about what happens the day when AI gets sapient and
Mhm.
sentient and it gets self-aware and it can think on its own.
That's doing that now.
Well,
In a sense, because
it feels like that.
yeah, it
It's
does.
not, it's not there yet.
It's learning everything that we do,
Mhm.
right?
That
It's almost like, dang, we go back to, playing sports or being a kid, right? And learning how to, kick a ball, right? It's repetition, or you learn how to ride a bike, repetition. It's learning all those things about us as we input,
Right.
data into the system, or things that we look at, or things that we like, right? Or it's so much, with technology now. It's just
Right.
unbelievable.
Well,
Let
Ken,
me
how do we how do we control some of those biases? Because, like, for instance, I know, like, now, say, I know we don't have brand deals with them, but if there's with Gemini, right, or you use Chat GPT or either one of those, right now they're just sourcing all of the information that's put out there, right? But
Whenever,
you could
whenever
say something completely false about somebody,
yeah,
and that information's out there as
Yeah.
well.
absolutely. And if it's part of the large language model, it gets ingested by the AI in
Right.
terms of its basis. Part of the issue, and it's my pet peeve, this is where government does the most good. And Europe tends to be, particularly with AI right now, ahead of us in terms of establishing guardrails. Where people get all sorts of butthurt is they don't understand the difference between guardrails and regulation. Guardrails is what you're talking about, Damien, in terms of do no harm. These are the limits to which we're going to hold AI to for anybody reputable that is using it. I mean, always you're going to have bad actors manipulating it. It's like anything. But for the people trying to be reputable, here are the guardrails. In the United States, there's no such thing, although New York State just recently passed laws in steps in that direction. They're actually ahead of California in this guys. Part of this is going to have to be community guidelines that say, okay, within the realm of AI, this is as far as it can go. This is what you can use it for. This is what you can't use it for. This is what you will not do with it. This is how you won't take it. Right now, the biggest problem is facial recognition. There's a company called, I believe it's Flock Group, Flock Safety. They're using automatic license plate recognition along with other tools and ingesting AI, not only based on your license plate, they can reach and identify people associated with you. And it includes information gotten from data breaches. Again, no laws against it. Totally unethical. But that's the problem. And if you're going to pass a law, it'd be the first thing. If there's data compromised, you cannot include it in the large language model for openers. Number two, there needs to be disclosures of some sort. In my perfect world, I always said it would be so wonderful if we had a profile. Everybody had a profile for every big data company. And you said, yes, 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 no, no, no. You said it once. That's how you want to approach data. You want how data relates to you. That would be the way to go. But I realize I'm a bit naive. Again, Europe is ahead of us and they have something, the right to be forgotten.
We had a question.
Companies, don't use my stuff, don't include me, and in fact, delete my data.
Do you see the question in your chat right there, Ken?
I do see it. It gets down to how the large language model is developed and who's using it. Part of the problem with AI is even if you have ethical companies using it, which I have a real problem with based on their performance over time, you do have individuals, rogue people who, because you have it available and it's here, can manipulate it for the wrong purpose. That's my biggest fear because, again, no laws about the protection of the data, how it's used, how it's kept, how it's sold, who's got it, who has access to it, what that means, nothing. So right now, I would say the biggest threat is the fact that AI is so powerful. It's a matter of if it falls into the wrong hands. Even within ethical companies, the typical stuff like when Apple developed their like little items that you can like track, their little trackers, and people meaning other people harm were putting the trackers in their cars and their purses and stuff to stalk them.
Yeah.
That was not the intent of the device, but it got misused. With AI, I think the biggest danger is having the information, having the ability, having the access to this great tool and manipulating it for evil purposes. I don't think AI in and of itself is there yet, although there are people in AI ethics that are sounding the alarm early about where this could go. Again, guidelines would keep that from getting there. But the bigger question is now, if AI continues to develop at breakneck speed, if companies continue to adopt AI blindly, which is the biggest problem, oh, AI, we got to do it. And this
Mhm.
happens every about 10 years. 10 years ago, everybody had to have a mobile app. 10 years before that, everybody had to have a website. Didn't care, just had to have it. Right now, oh, you got to have AI. No, not necessarily. It really gets down to guardrails. It really gets down to policing. It really gets down to a set of standards that have teeth. Just saying that here's a voluntary set of standards doesn't cut it. The temptation is too great to misuse this stuff.
So I'm gonna go a little bit. We go a little bit off script, right? Because what I want to do for the viewing audience and the listening public is let's talk about the businesses a little bit too, right, Ken? Because you and I, we talk about how do we help, all these businesses, small mom and pop shops, class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4 businesses, right? And I'm constantly saying this, and even with our new partnerships, because we're bringing in partnerships that can help with technology, right? 12 a.m. and other companies that we're bringing on to help these companies scale from a technology standpoint. Because and Dame, you've been around and traveling around seeing business too, but the challenge is that a lot of the companies don't really understand why they need technology, why they have to evolve with technology, why if you don't really get technology inside your company and use these tools, whether it be digital marketing, advertising, social media, you probably won't make it in this society right now.
But let's take a step back. I think the fundamental problem with American business is they don't know who they are. If you're chasing every new philosophy, I mean, back in the 60s, it was management, training, management, the latest management tool, you had to have it. Problem is, you can't get value out of a tool, a process, or procedure if you first don't know who you are, what strengths you bring to the table, and how these new tool, concept, material will impact your company in a positive way. Most companies think that the newest tool will solve a broken company. It won't. It absolutely won't.
Okay.
If you want to fix it, you got to go to the cause, and that's painful. You have to be insightful. You got to be real about it, and you got to get buy-in. If you don't do any of that, then just adopting AI is going to be a train wreck because you won't know how to use it. You won't get the buy-in. You'll get a lot of pushback, and it will fail. And you'll wonder why. Oh my God, AI was supposed to be the savior for my company. They tell me I needed it. I adopted it, but you didn't lay the framework. You can't build a house without footings, without a solid footing. If your foundation ain't right, AI is not for you. Don't do it because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You don't know how it will help you. You don't know what processes.
Yeah.
I mean, just an example. In some assembly plants at General Motors, they use AI to identify thousands of welds. That is a very specialized application of AI where it compares how that weld should be in their database to how the weld is in real time. Auto plants now take tons of pictures of different little processes, and they use those images against stock images to decide whether or not it was done right, it was done well, what the quality is. And as a result, quality is higher, but it is very, very specific. And unless you know your processes and you know where you get the value, then you really, really shouldn't even fool with it because you really got to go to basics. And most companies, large and small, don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They don't know their strengths. They don't know their weaknesses. They don't know how, because to be blunt, in some cases, AI may not be your solution. And you're trying to fit, square peg, round hole. Not going to work. But they told me you got to have it. Had that problem 25 years ago when somebody said, you need a website. And my first question was, okay, how do I make money from it? And until I could answer that question, I didn't adopt one. When the answer came, I was able to adopt it and never look back. But that was a case of I had to answer the value proposition of just because you're offering me new technology until I can see a way where it will benefit my business, and it did in many ways, then it's not worth doing. And I'll think really so many people are so the newest bauble, the new shiny thing in front of them. Oh my God, I gotta have it. But yet they don't know where they are and whether or not they're even ready for it. And I think that's a bigger problem than even adopting AI or any technology.
But that's
That's a heck
part
of a
of,
promo for Ken,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, that's what I'm just saying. That comes into Playbook Investors Network and Penn
Right.
Community Education.
a heck
Join
of a promo,
PennCommunity.org and
Well, a
PlaybookInvestorsNetwork.com.
a lot of the stuff you and I talked about, Rodney,
Yeah.
in terms of how finance works, how companies run. You and I both know a lot of companies, even if you have an entrepreneur that has the message, understands the service of the product, they fall apart where? Marketing,
Yeah.
accounting, finance, any sort of legal, because that's not their wheelhouse.
Yeah,
But
we
yet,
see that a
they
lot
knew
with
it.
the small businesses.
And I'm going to do something I typically don't do. I'm
Uh-oh.
gonna put a plug in for
Yeah, you might. He just served it up for you.
Yeah,
Might
he
as well.
did. So this is why we brought, and Ken, and you and I have talked about, Dame knows this, but that's why we brought on companies like 12 a.m.
Mhm.
on your marketing, your SEO, and all the things you need to stay out front, right? And a lot of us businesses, and I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be honest too, because I'm talking to all of you guys and ladies out there. We don't want to pay for nothing. You got to pay for some of your tools, right?
Right.
So to get your digital media, your marketing, and all those tools together, you got to use companies who are really good at it. And that's why we partner with 12 a.m. because they bring that versatility and that education and that knowledge and that nuanced type of stuff that you got to do. That's why we bring companies like Vox5, on answering all your calls. A lot of us businesses don't have somebody sitting on a call answering every call and bringing it back to us in the right way that we can respond.
Mhm.
We don't miss a customer and all that kind of stuff. So I'm plugging that in because these are great companies, and technology is evolving on a day-to-day, and if we don't educate, that's why Penn was created, because it's about the education platform to educate you on how these things work. But more importantly, once you get these tools, how you gain access to capital or contracts. And Ken, you just touched on that when it comes to finance. So technology and finance. Let's talk about that a little bit, right?
And that's really
Dang.
anything, though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You talk about this. Most people, and we deal with a lot of small businesses, with major corporations as well. But when you're dealing with the small businesses, the majority of these companies only know what they're only good at what they're good at. So,
Mhm.
like, if I'm a small business and I'm really good at making Italian food, like, that's what I'm good at. I'm not good at running the actual
Dave, you
business
making
per se.
Italian food? Really?
Hold on now.
Really?
Both of my grandmothers own diners, so I've been cooking since I was a little kid. I'm good in the kitchen now.
You ain't never cooked no Italian food this
What,
way.
I'm cooking for you?
Ah,
Oh.
I didn't say that. No.
Ooh.
No. We hang out quite a bit, but I didn't know he cooked Italian food.
Yeah, bro. I cook all the time.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
coming with a fork. Forget this. I am coming, bro.
Come on,
Yes,
y'all
sir.
are welcome.
Yes, sir.
Definitely welcome.
I'm thinking Damon
North
think he
End,
back.
brother.
He ain't
North
a
End,
rookie. He ain't a
brother.
rookie on the football field no more. So if he was a rookie in the NBA or something, like, all right, bro, you got to cook for everybody.
They know. They know. Look, that was my hustle in college. So I was broke. I had no money. So what we would do is have, like, everybody.
Man, everybody got money at USC. Stop playing.
Nah, not then, man. I was there under the thumb, man. But what we would do is we would have, like, people pitch in to buy the food, and then I would cook it, and then we would just all sit to eat. But that's kind of how I ate in college. I would just cook everybody food.
See,
But I never had to pay for it.
There you go.
I was on the assumption, the guys who came from USC and Duke and Wake Forest, NC State, they had it good, right?
Nah, man, the more you can do, man, the more you can do.
Oh, okay.
There you go. There you go.
I ain't gonna throw you on the bus like that, but I'm trying.
But now I know the brother can cook Italian food. Yeah, it's on now.
I got y'all, man. I got you.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
All
But
right.
I mean, let's talk about the finance side though. When it comes to technology, that's kind of like everything now is on your iPhone.
Mhm.
All your financial stuff is on your iPhone, your Android, your iOS pads, right? So technology is ever evolving. You go to the bank, you can pull up anything on your phone.
Hmm.
You don't even need a credit card because it's on your phone.
Sure. take that a step further. You can
Sure.
take a check, take a picture of it sitting in your office, and deposit it at your bank.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, with a picture, not
For
even
sure.
a physical item, a
Right.
digital picture.
Right.
I
You know,
just-
now they have like the
did
Amazon
that today.
shop where you can just walk in,
Right.
grab something, and leave.
Right.
And based on your recognition and other information they have about you, they got your payment.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
But let's since we're talking small business, let's take a step back from
Yeah.
the biggest challenge for small business. Like you said, Damien, and you alluded to Rodney, they do one or two things really, really well.
Yeah.
The problem is, even today, as a small business, a full hustle, typical small business, typical minority small business, if I might stereotype for a minute.
No, go ahead. Listen, we're in that space.
You got a person working full time.
Yeah.
Or they got a partner that's working full time so they can do their thing full time.
Yeah.
But there's some serious hustle, and you're burning the candle both ends and the middle. So the bigger problem they have today, you see all these resources. Well, brother, there's stuff over there and there's stuff over here that can help you. And you're going, great. And maybe, on the third Wednesday in a full moon at 4 a.m, I might have time to check it out. Which is the number one problem. Number two, if I'm looking at 5 sources, 10 sources, how am I going to find the time to find the 3 sources that are really going to help me? Because I don't have the time to do the research to find out. I have the need. I absolutely have the need, but I'm running so hard to make this happen. I've got all my chips in. I'm all in. But I think the biggest problem for smaller businesses is bandwidth, is time. There's just not enough time.
Yeah.
People complain, well, we got all these resources. Yeah. But have you really thought about how to approach it in today's tech world? I mean, when I was a kid, when I was in high school, they looked at the future 40, 50 years from then, saying, oh, you're going to have all this leisure time. They lied. I don't know about y'all, but I'm working 3 times as hard.
Yeah.
My dad retired a year younger than I am.
Yeah.
And he was a blue collar man, worked his whole life. I'm still working and doing more now than when I built a nationwide business the first time 30 years ago. And with all the technology, I'm not working less. I am in double time and triple time. So I think the challenge is looking at the way that we can bring technology to a small business that needs it. I've done some of that here where I'm at in an attempt to facilitate that. But I do realize that technology is fine, but not if it's not accessible. And anybody that figures out, and I've been racking my brain now, how do I make it accessible to get the right technology to the right people who need it in a way that they can digest it and get benefit?
That's what we figured out, dang.
There you go.
But Ken, we talked about that. I mean, all jokes aside, man, we're passionate about what we do. We're very serious about it, very transparent about it. Sometimes we might say a few things that hurt your feelings, but we all entrepreneurs and we've been there, right? So, it happens, but that's why we built Playbook Investor Network, truthfully. And I'm not saying just us. There are other platforms out in the marketplace that can also help you, right? And I'm always advocating for any other platform where we can join forces, because together we're going to be better anyway than just trying to be separate and apart. But at the end of the day, we built so many tools within the PN community and Playbook Investor Network so that people, they can access it. They can do it on their cell phone, on an Android, the iOS pad, your Android, all that kind. You could do this 24/7, right? You can learn. You can hear subject matter expert like you can. You could talk to individuals like Dame and others that we have. We got subject matter experts. We got corporations also now saying, hey, this is how you really do business with us, because you really don't have the money and the time to keep trying to travel to every state for a trade show to meet a corporation that you're going to spend about 2 or 3 years trying to cultivate that relationship, spend the money, and still never get a contract.
Exactly.
Oh, hello. I'm about ready to preach now. Hold on.
Oh, come on.
Come on. Hold on now. Let's get this going.
We'll pass the plate at the end. Come on.
Hey, I tell you, listen, we have a lot of fun on the show. we're real serious. We're very passionate, but truth is truth, man. And it's like, it's time out for all the games, because right now, since the economy's changed, the administration has come in and done a lot of things that we don't agree with. But at the end of the day, you got to pivot. And if you don't pivot and get into technology and get the tools that you need to scale or grow your business, you might not make it. I'm not saying you won't make it. You never tell us we can't do something, right? Because we're going to do it 10 times harder, even if we fail. Right. But at the end of the day, if you don't use the tools and you understand what Ken is saying to you today, or what Dame is saying to you, or I'm saying to you, or what other people are saying to you on any other platform, you might not make it. That's the truth. At the end of the day, we're always saying, man, there's two things that you really need in that company outside of the tools that you need to purchase, right? But you need capital. You need capital to either hire the human capital people that you need in your company, right people, right? Or you need to pay for your equipment, right? But also paying for that is the tools that you need. That's what the money's for, right? It's not for you to go, and then no disrespect to anybody. But you can't go buy a Bentley, you can't go buy a Mercedes, you can't go buy a new house, not with that money that you're supposed to grow that business with, right?
Are you about to get your feelings hurt?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you come to the investing public, because the investors right now don't want to give anybody any money if they don't know for sure, at least 95%, 98% that they're going to get a return. They're not giving you no money. I don't care what your revenues look like. And if it ain't recurring revenues, you can walk in any bank and try to get that $500,000, $1 million line of credit. You ain't got recurring revenues at whatever number you said, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a month. 1 month is 30,000, next month is 5,000, and then the next month is 2,000. You ain't getting the money. So, like, if you're gonna pivot, it's just time to get it right, And I'm a strong advocate for getting it right. We're not a threat to you. It's added value to anybody that's saying, "Hey, I'm trying to scale my business. I need to understand what Ken is talking about with tech mobility. I need to understand what Dame, who's been an athlete, and had money, made money himself, and put money in companies himself and seen things that happen, right? So you have to listen, and I say a lot of times, you got to listen with those ears, not the mouth, right? Just listen with your mouth and just get involved, man. Network, ask questions, that's why another thing I think, Dame, to our credit, some people are afraid to say they messed up, or they have a bankruptcy, or they have this, or I didn't file my taxes for the last 2 or 3 years, or 4 years, or 5 years, right? Because I got some companies ain't filed in 5 years, but you got to let people know that you haven't done that so we can get that straight.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what Kim was talking about earlier, man. You got to put that mirror up and really do a deep dive of you and your company and how you're moving, what you guys have done in the past, and really learn from those things. And I think that even before the technology piece, that's the most important part. It's just really understanding where you're at in your business, where you're at in your life, where you're trying to go, and then mapping out a plan to get there, and then reaching out to those resources to help you get there. But if you're not honest with yourself about where you're at, I mean, you're not going to make it regardless, because you'll be spinning in the same circle. It's a never ending cycle.
I think the biggest challenge we've got as entrepreneurs is when you're so invested in what you're doing, it's kind of hard.
It is.
I've been at one of those investors meetings. I've had my head handed to me, make you want to cry for mama when they get done.
Right.
It is not pretty. It's not. But they got a point. I always help folk. I said, okay, let's turn this around. If you're an investor, it's your money, and somebody came to you asking whatever, what would you want? What would you demand? What would you expect? First thing, show me the books.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing. I need to see the books. I don't want to hear what you're telling me. Show me the books. That tells me that starts my conversation.
Yeah.
True. And then you ask the hard questions. And Rodney, you've alluded to it. Where's this money going? How is it going to generate income? How am I going to get paid back? I'm looking for, 10, 20, whatever my return I'm looking for. How's that going to happen in the next 3 years, 5 years? And are you going to need more money to get there? And most importantly, if I'm aware of the industry you're in, and I know I see the storm clouds in your industry, what are you planning to do to handle that situation if and when it impacts you?
And part of that's why that mirror is so important, right? Because
Mhm.
I think it makes it easier if you know where you have gaps or that you have gaps. I
Mhm.
think it makes it easier to take in that information when sometimes you get maybe not so favorable
Yeah.
feedback
Yeah.
Mhm.
about your
Still hurts
company,
though,
because that's your
Damien.
baby, right? You're not just
It's
gonna
a
sit here
big
and talk
job.
about my kid.
It's not you. It can be, yeah. Mhm.
No, but I tell you, man, being in this game for a long time, Ken, not as long as you, not as long as you, Ken, but
Brother, I just hustle. That's all.
but being in this game for a long time, man, you do see all the things that's really bad,
Mhm.
and you see a lot of things that can be really good. Now, technology and COVID obviously has made us all pivot, right?
Mhm.
Because you had to pivot. If you didn't pivot, you wouldn't make it anyway. But and for those who are still here, technology is just the way you have to go now. It's something you can't avoid. And for some of the companies that's been in the game a long time, it's tough to want to now change what you've been doing for the last 20 years, right?
Mhm.
But like you said, Ken, you said this earlier, very crystal clear. You work harder now than what you did when you first started your business. And you've been in the game over 30 years.
Mhm.
you know. And I'm not trying to highlight that you've been in the game 30 years, but
It is what it is, brother.
yeah, but it's a blessing
It
too
is.
now because you still get it and you
Yeah.
still good at it and you still vibrant and you still able to pass on so much knowledge to so many other businesses, that really needs to hear what Ken has to say,
Well,
right?
let me drop this on you because I'm right in the process of doing this.
Okay.
Um, I've been working with a radio automation company.
Okay.
What's been going on is when I started the business, we were growing at double digits. COVID hit. I lost 2.5 years of forward momentum.
Mhm.
As we get back into it, the radio industry's had a lot of what they call reductions in force.
Yep.
Well, we're hearing from smaller clients and larger clients, if your program is not automated, all we want to do is say yes, we don't have to put it in, we don't have to do anything. Most news shows are not if you're not part of a major network.
Mhm.
We are on the verge right now testing it with one of our larger clients up in Waterloo, Iowa, to launch all three of our shows fully automated,
Mhm.
to where if they're a premier level client of this company I'm working with, it's a no-brainer. All you got to do is say yes, give them the cart numbers, and they'll put it in every week. You'll never touch it.
Mm.
And
That's
that, and we're using that as a sales tool going forward. Now,
right.
here's a marketing tip. This is free. In my pursuit of working with them, and they got to like me, which is really good.
Okay.
They're rolling out this tool I'm using, and they want to feature me as one of their people that they can refer to in their advertising. So
Okay.
that's the case of
It's awesome.
piggybacking a larger firm's dollars to get the vision that I need. So, and then we're going to roll out to the radio trades because we're looking at this as a way to get new and larger clients, which will
Mhm.
bring us more advertisers.
Oh
So
man, that's
I'm
awesome.
really excited.
And congratulations,
And
Ken,
the
for
best part,
sure.
didn't cost me a dime.
That's what I'm saying. And listen,
The best
congratulations.
part.
Right, the best part. So, Ken, also, like, I would be remiss if I didn't tell the listening public and viewing audience about we have a partnership with Ken Chester with Tech Mobility. So, Ken, I want you to kind of expound on Tech Mobility and your reach and what you're doing, because I think this is also something that reached so many others who didn't even know, the Tech Mobility was out here, and you was reaching 11 million plus households and everything else. So I want to give you the opportunity to expound on your company as well.
Well, Tech Mobility Productions is a multimedia company based here in Iowa. We produce 3 different radio shows. We take that content also across social media and 2 podcast streams. We produce social media video, walk around videos. We review vehicles. Basically, we talk about what I like to say about news, information, and perspective at the busy intersection of mobility and technology. More and more, I literally can tie almost anything of technical basis to some sort of mobility. It's crazy because they used to be mutually exclusive. They're not. As a result, we're on a number of radio stations across the country. We're in big markets like Seattle and little markets like Bemidji, Minnesota. Bemidji,
I know.
15,000 in northern Minnesota.
I know.
And we've been doing this for 7 years. We do business with a number of the radio companies. Cumulus, actually, a Cumulus media station was the first one that helped us launch. And the fun part about it, they took us on at a time when we didn't even have a radio show. We scrambled to put one together the first 60 days, and they're still with us 8 years later.
That's awesome.
So there's that going on. What we're able to do for clients, sponsors, companies is we can get your message in front of tech-aware and tech-savvy listeners across not just radio and not just podcasts, but both, and social media. We are the value message that you don't get with just a podcaster. Podcaster can get you in front, and if you well know podcaster, of course, you're going to pay dearly for it. But as I was talking to Rodney, just one piece that I did that I put out to social media from my Substack account actually generated thousands of results. Who knew people on LinkedIn were serious about their dairy butter? No, big deal. When I told them that there's a company that developed a methodology using carbon dioxide from emissions and hydrogen from water to create, sure enough, real deal butter and other dairy products from edible oils that don't use any biological inputs.
Crazy.
That kind of information I can get you in front of folk. I can talk about the latest Cadillac IQ. It's a beast at 9,000 pounds. It's an electric beast. It's like if you could drive first class, it's like being a first class airline behind the wheel. It's also $167,000. But this thing, this beast gets 460 miles between charges.
Man.
Yeah.
Did I mention it was 9,000 pounds?
No. I mean, you talked to me about it. When you told me about it, I was like, wow. Right. I was like, wow.
460 miles between charges. This is where we're going. This is the kind of information I share. It's relevant, it's interesting, it's educational. And honestly, there's only about 4 vehicles that even get anywhere near that. And one of them is a Lucid Air at 520 miles. Wow. And I drove that car, and I will say this and then get off my horse. The Lucid Air EV is so fast, it has a drive mode, that if you pick it, the car actually comes back and asks you, are you sure? It does.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Right.
It is incredibly fast. Yeah, incredibly fast. But yeah.
You know, a lot of people, man, don't have a clue what's really going on, even in the automotive space. And I think I was I know I was in Austin a couple weeks ago, and I walked out of the hotel and I kept seeing these white vehicles, right? I kept seeing, I was like, man, what is that? I didn't even know, right? I didn't really think about it. And I kept looking, I saw, a couple people get out of the car, right? And I kept looking, I looked again, I turned my head sideways, I turned this way. I was like, man,
not gonna find nobody in that driver's seat.
Nobody was in the car.
Let me blow your mind. Waymo operates in 3 cities. Right now, this minute, Waymo gives 150,000 rides a week.
Well, Austin, Texas is where they are. Like,
well, I was going to say in San Francisco, so I was there before. I guess I hadn't seen them anywhere else when I was living in San Francisco.
Right.
I would see them everywhere. Like they're all over the city.
Yeah.
But they were doing it for a while before it got to Austin, for sure.
Waymo,
man, I never saw it. I'm sorry.
Waymo is the first company of automation. They started in 2009, and they've got the most experience, they've got the most progress, they've got the most development under the belt of anybody. Yeah. But the real thing that's under the radar for most folks, unless they listen to my program, then they know, it's commercial trucking.
Yeah.
Particularly
I saw
Texas.
that. I've seen that. Yeah.
You're looking at lanes from roughly Dallas to Phoenix.
Yep.
Yeah. And about 4 or 5 trucking companies been doing it for years, including FedEx, UPS, and the U.S. Postal Service.
Man, I listen. Let's keep it honest, right?
Hmm.
I am terrified to be in a car with no person in there.
I'm not doing it.
Well,
I'm telling you,
gentlemen,
I
let me-
wanted to try.
It's
just
gonna
for-
be a while, I should say. It'll be a
Okay.
while.
Correct.
Let's start in.
Correct.
Let me come at this a different way for you.
Okay. Cool.
In America, we pride ourselves that having a vehicle is freedom. If you're a certain age, you know, we couldn't wait to get our license. Man,
Absolutely.
I got a house,
Absolutely.
a car, hanging with
Yeah.
peeps.
You
know,
won a championship trophy getting your license.
Imagine now a person in their early 80s. They are no longer fit to drive, yet they're in relative decent health, but maybe, you know, the legs don't work like they used to. The eyesight's not nearly as good as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Why should they lose their mobility and maybe their quality of life when a vehicle like this actually, if anything, would help them stay connected to community, connected to life, being able to make their appointments, not dependent on anybody? It actually is going to be a phenomenal thing.
I truly believe it. I do. I truly believe it. But when I say that the fear factor, right, is here, it's here with me. And I probably dang you too. But I just feel like I won't do it. And even when I like ride next to it, I looking over, it's like to me, it's just terrifying. I'm like, nothing is.
What scares me more is 60 tons of truck at 55 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
That scares me. Okay.
Absolutely.
That I got a moment. I need a moment.
Yeah. I'm getting away. As a matter of fact, I'm driving away as fast as I can when I see that anyway. You know,
well,
so
dude,
I'm gonna put the
I-45, you gonna keep running right into them because
I've seen them. I do.
Road.
Every time I seen them, the BMW hit that little speed. All right, let's go.
It gotta go, huh?
Gotta go. Can't be close. I don't want to be close. I don't want anything. It's just I don't know, man. It's like I know we have to accept things, right? Like we're talking about. Right. We're telling companies that they have to pivot and do things they didn't want to do. It's not very comfortable for you to do. But at the end of the day, yeah, there's a lot of things that we got to do. But right when you have life on your own terms right now, and I can still drive, I ain't doing that.
all I'm gonna say is this, and I'll move on. Consider this. I do a lot of reporting about trucking and the state of truckers and their federal hours of service that they can only drive. And the fact that I just did in the last couple of weeks, I reported on a study that talked about distracted truckers, tired truckers, truckers under various influences. Yeah, and that scared me more than any autonomous.
No, and it should. And that's facts. That is fair. That is fair.
Truck empty is about 10 tons. Truck full is about 60 tons. That's 120,000 pounds at speed.
Yeah. No, listen.
And I don't need a fella or a gal with problems, medical problems, health problems, mental problems, fooling on their phone, being distracted any kind of way. Driving a diesel truck at that speed.
That's fair. Can't listen. It's fair. I think it's it's the mental capacity of us people that still looks over and see nothing driving, right? And it takes you for if you haven't done it and you're not accustomed to it, it's gonna take you a minute to like, okay, I can do this, right?
Speaking of go ahead.
I love context and dropping numbers. So let me drop this number.
Okay.
Torque Automation told a group of investors and business watchers that this one trucking lane, I think it was between Denton, Texas, and I forget where else, that they could, I think Denton, Texas and Fort Worth, going to automate that route with no drivers could free up a year $600 million. Yeah. I'm just going to let that settle.
But
I'll let the numbers speak.
I'm always with the conjunction part of it, right? I'm like, but I understand the economics of it, right? And definitely could appreciate some of that. But I'm also the person who's saying I'm trying to do, and not we are trying to do everything we can do to help businesses, because some of those businesses are going to be, out of business, right? and they got to pivot, right? And they got to pivot
Absolutely.
in ways to do things they've never done before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even getting in the technology space, you know, with, you know, mothers or dads or single moms at home and stuff like that. You know, this whole technology play now is a good tool for you to utilize too, to also monetize and make money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Dane, I'm gonna pick your brain on this one, because we're looking at, you know, how all the NIL kids are monetizing, right, at a certain clip, going to college, coming out of high school, the whole nine. But parents don't understand that whole world. But if we educate them on how they now can work with their kids' social media and blah blah blah, they too can monetize this, right? You know, the influencer side, you know, Dame's influencer, Ken, you're influencing in your own way, you know, with automotive and tech mobility. And, you know, all of us influencers, we influence a lot of people, do a lot of things, but never really figured out a way to really monetize if you wasn't, you know, truly an Instagram model or TikTok, you know, model. This now there's a way to monetize all this stuff, man, from a tech standpoint. Right. And those are the things that we're trying to do now, to show a lot of people who will be displaced. Let's keep it real.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people displaced, McDonald's and others, you know, because typically it was a lot of elderly people in McDonald's and restaurants, you know, working now because they retired. 401k didn't pay enough money to live off of, so they got to get another job. So tech is another way to help a lot of people monetize in ways they never thought they could do so. So I say that, you know, you just got to pay attention. You got to get in the game. Can't be afraid of it. Not like me being afraid of.
You'll be fine, Rodney. It'll be okay.
I'm not doing it. Not yet. Not yet. Life is still on Rodney's terms, so I ain't doing it yet. Right?
Okay.
I'm not doing it yet. But,
Ken, quick question for you. Do
Yes,
you
sir.
think that there will ever be a time that people catch up with technology? And when I say that, I mean that like we'll see technology happen more in real time than like over time. And I bring up this because we were speaking about AI, right? When I always think about like the movie Iron Man. Like that movie came out years ago,
yeah.
like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But there right now, like Siri and is what basically Jarvis was in that movie.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is wild because we're just now, like in the last 10 years, being like, oh yeah, that's AI and Siri and all of this stuff, and this is new to us. But this was in the movies a long time ago, and it was a real thing, a real viable thing, right? So do you think there will ever be a time that gap shrinks to like almost real time?
No.
Okay.
Let me throw this at you. Right now, the big data companies are spending billions of dollars on AI. And I'm sure you both have read the Chinese company that wasn't even in the AI business developed a model as good as Meta and Google and them for $6 million. If I was an investor in AI tech companies right now, I'd be having a real uncomfortable conversation with these folks. Saying, how could this company, Chinese company, spend this minuscule? I mean, one of the companies spent $100 million just in AI testing and verification. This company built the model for $6 million, and they verified that it is as good, if not better, than the models big data built. And I don't see it. I believe right now, somewhere in the world, there's some hotshot kids or group of kids or somebody
Definitely kids
hold up with the next great thing that's going to blow your socks off because they're already disrupting this disruptor.
Right.
Right. Okay.
That's crazy. That's just insane, you know, but it's so true.
Well,
you know, it's
again,
so true.
context in the auto industry for a new feature to gain tipping point in the industry where most vehicles have it, it's 20 years.
So we might as well get with the game, though. You know,
Just
might as well get the game.
Brother, embrace it.
Yeah, you gotta embrace it. You gotta embrace it. You have to.
Right, we're gonna have to do a post of us in the Waymo one time. Like, all right, we did it.
I'll do a
Right.
post.
It's never gonna happen.
No, I'll do a post. I'm just not going anywhere. I'm not gonna get in.
Yeah, we're
You're
gonna
just gonna get in and get out.
I'm in the way mode.
Uh-huh.
No, man, but
But I
it's
feel
like
way more comfortable outside of it.
Way more comfortable.
that. Yes, that. Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
No, Ken, man, this is really, really good, man. So if you got anything, any tips to leave for the listeners and the viewing audience, by all means, drop those tips for them right now.
I think the biggest thing, everybody looks at technology. And unfortunately, as being human beings, we always gravitate to the next brightest, newest, greatest, fanciest thing that everybody says you got to have.
Mm-hmm.
I think before you can even do that, you got to have that moment of honesty. Damon alluded to it. And I would accuse companies, but individuals too. If you're in business, does it make sense if you're running a pizza joint in a small town of 3,000 people, where you know your customers, you know how many pizzas you're gonna make? Does it make sense for you to just embrace AI for no reason? No, not really.
Right.
Not really. I mean, other than Grammarly, to help you write some emails, maybe, but you got to keep it in perspective. And keeping it in perspective means getting back to the core. What do we do well? What don't we do well? What are our strengths? What are our historical strengths? Where have we been blindsided before? Where are we now? And what do we need to be successful or to sustain or to evolve? I mean, for me, it's been a constant journey of evolution over the last 30 years, but it's evolution. It was never revolution. And I still had to answer those questions of, okay, how do I make money? How, which was the question for me. If I'm going to go here, I don't see the value proposition. Why am I doing it?
Right.
A lot of people and a lot of businesses right now, particularly middle management, when upper management says, we're going to embrace all of this new technology, we got to do it. You're going to do it because we need it, because we're going to do it. Middle management looks up and go, what? Line management goes, huh? And it gets lost in perspective and it gets squandered because no one's on the same page. Big business, small business, individuals, find out who you are. Do you really need it?
Right.
Then, if you know what you need, then you can go out and implement it, because the solution that works for Damien may not work for Rodney.
Right. No.
And what works for you two may not work for me.
No.
That's Damien may be like all in. Rodney might say, you know what? 5% of this works for me, but you ain't never going to drag me all the way. I might say 20% works for me for what I need. This is because there's so much. I read constantly from MIT to trade in publications, all sorts of stuff. Be authentic, be honest, have a real moment, find out what you really need.
No, man, this is real. And Ken, we thank you so much, for joining us.
I have fun.
Yeah, well, we
Anytime
love it.
You guys want to do another round with me? Yeah.
No, we will.
I owe y'all some Italian food. So.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah.
You do.
Yeah. You can count on that. Jeez.
But I want to make sure that I say, Ken, thank you again so much, man, because your knowledge is valuable to so many listeners. We can't thank you enough. Dame, always, man, it's a pleasure to be with you on a day-to-day.
Yes,
on a week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year, because we do it all the time, Just don't be hitting me on the court no more, because I don't like that too much.
You're right.
Okay. I can plug my website or email address if someone wants more.
Yeah, absolutely. Drop it.
Yeah, it's we're at techmobility.show is the website. You can reach out to me, email ken@techmobility.show. That's the way to reach me.
Okay. So next show that we got coming up next week, I think it's, I'm not looking at the date, but it'll be the same time, same time, same bat channel, same pin channel. So we'll have our group, Ken, 12 a.m., with the CEOs and the presidents of the company, with Robert and Christopher, who's also partnering with us. And 12 a.m. is doing all our digital marketing and advertising, SEO stuff that, social media things that, a lot of companies really need this. So I want everybody to chime into that. But I want to thank, all our viewers, all our listeners, for listening to us at PN Global News, and all of our peers all of our partnership companies. We hope Morgan Stanley's a partnership company coming up soon.
Right.
Yep. But I
That's
want to
right.
thank you, man, for joining the show, Ken. But again, man, we can't thank you enough, you know,
Have
for the
fun.
things
Thank
that you
you.
share with us. So
Anytime.
I want everybody to continue to be blessed.
Yep.
You know, I got my little sayings here. Get your off that couch, get out of the house, do something with your life, and do something with your body, because your body has to get up. Self will not take care of you. You got to take care of self. So continue to do the things you need to do to take care of yourself, to continue to help your business scale and grow. And we'll see you guys back here with 12 a.m. on the next show. Same time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. East Coast Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Coast Time. Everybody have a blessed night. Take care. Have a great weekend. All right.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye now.